Welcome to 131XR and this review of Room Escape, a brand new escape room game that's just launched on the MetaQuest headsets. There's plenty of escape room games in VR, it's quite a popular genre. So can Room Escape stand up to the competition? Find out in this review. Room Escape has been developed by Mastery VR. This is a studio that has done several VR titles in the past, but nothing that's going to particularly jump out at you. I mean, chess VR? I love chess, but it's not exactly a headlining game in VR. And the same applies to Room Escape. So Room Escape is a pretty run-of-the-mill escape room game in VR, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. What it does have is a constant story thread that continues throughout the entire game. Each level, set in a small room, pieces together a new part of the story from both the introduction of the level and the outro, but also materials that you will find in the level. Every level has a notepad telling a bit more of the story. You learn more about the characters that are involved that you don't actually meet. You're just learning the story of the house that you are in. You play the role of a detective, and this is your first case. And it's told in past tense, so essentially you're the detective narrating an experience that you had, but then playing it. Room Escape is, I don't want to say a horror-themed game, but it is creepy. Certainly, it's bent towards the creepiness. There aren't exactly much in the way of jump scares, except for one time when a spider leapt out at me in the very first level. But other than that, it's pretty sedate, but it is thick in atmosphere. You'll constantly be feeling like there is this forebodingness happening in the background, all the while you're trying to solve the puzzles in each room. There is no time pressure, however, so it's not like you feel you're going to die or something horrifying is going to happen. You're just constantly aware that this is not a nice place to be. The puzzles themselves are pretty simple to begin with, though they do get more complicated as the game progresses. You'll find that while they're pretty easy to solve once you know, the game is more about making you explore to find clues than it is testing your logic. There were lots of times when playing the game that it wasn't that I didn't know what the solution would be, it's just that I didn't know where to find the objects to make the solution happen. And so exploring the room, it was more important than actually using my brain to uncover the problems. The game doesn't have much in the way of options. You're simply given the room and off you go. You can toggle between free movement and teleport for your locomotion, which is important for experienced gamers. Obviously, immersion in VR is much more prevalent when you have the ability to move wherever you should like, especially in a game like this. We recently had the issue with a game called Lovesick, for which you can find our review up here. And in Lovesick, you only had teleportation, which greatly impacted the immersion of the game and also your ability to solve puzzles comfortably, with many of the objects lying a bit too far out of reach. We don't have that problem with Room Escape. Everything that you need to interact with is easily accessible because you have that freedom of movement. And you'll find in each of the rooms that most of the objects that you can interact with do provide some sort of clue towards the solution. Not all. You'll find bookcases where you can pull the books off for no reason and so on, but most objects, most interactive objects, do in some way work towards the solution for each of the puzzles in the room. Some of these objects, however, do not behave as intended. For example, in the second level, you'll come across a crowbar, which is used to pry nails out of planks of wood. Now, the instinct as a VR game would be to attach the crowbar and then pull. And that seems to be what the intent is, however it does not work that way. It's much more efficient to attach the crowbar to the nail, release the controller, and then press it to grab the crowbar again and then pull. The input recognition is very poor in this place and some others later in the game. Also, you'll find that some objects you interact with, when you drop them, will teleport back to that point of origin, and others won't. They'll just stay wherever you drop them. And this can be quite confusing, as you've got a piece that you know this is going to be for a puzzle later, so you want to put it somewhere safe, and then when you find that puzzle, you return to where you placed it and it's not there anymore. Other times you'll think, oh, well, this has gone back to the place I found it, so you go back to its point of origin, and actually no, it's wherever you left it, which might be under a couch or under a desk or something, and so you have to find the object again. This is annoying, and I hope that the developers pay attention and stick with one or the other. Consistency is important in VR, And this is one of those times when consistency could really help with the enjoyment of the game. The game is visually very comfortable. It's not exactly excelling or pushing the hardware, but it is detailed enough to make you believe in the experience that you're playing. However, one significant problem we encountered on every stage of the game was audio glitches. The game has this irritating footstep sound which is far too loud, and in every level we played, once you played for long enough, the footsteps sound would repeat automatically, even when you weren't moving. And when you did move, it would double up. This is a glitch that we overcame every time we entered the game at some point, random time, during every level, and the only way to overcome it was to quit the game, back to the Meta Horizon dashboard, and reload. This is a small error, and I hope the developers find it and solve it pretty quickly because it is very annoying. So Room Escape is a pretty simple escape room game in VR. There's nothing particularly egregious about it other than that sound bug, but there's also nothing particularly incredible about it. As I said at the start of this video, there are a lot of escape room games in VR, and some of them are pretty high quality. So while Room Escape doesn't reach those lofty heights, it's not a bad time. If you've already played all the popular escape room games in VR, then Room Escape is probably worth looking at. But if there's some that you haven't yet experienced, they may be better than what's on offer here, especially if you're looking for co-op, as Room Escape is entirely single player. Mastery VR's Room Escape is available for MetaQuest headsets now, priced at £7.99 or your local currency equivalent. It's okay, it's a pretty good time. If you're into escape rooms, it's worth checking out. But there are other better escape room games on the MetaQuest headset, and what's more, there are only 3 levels right now, so it's pretty short.